The girl appears on the body of a giant old man. In the next moment, she merges into his body. She does this not to harm him, but to heal him. She has the ability to enter people's dreams and perform deep psychological treatment. The story takes place in a psychiatric research hospital. Atsuko and the scientist Tokita invent a device called DC Mini that allows people to enter others' dreams. By connecting it to a patient's brain, the images from the patient's dreams can be projected onto a monitor. This allows doctors to treat mental illnesses at an early stage. For patients with severe conditions, Atsuko transforms into Paprika. She then enters their dream world and performs deep psychological therapy. Right now, she is treating Inspector Kogawa in her role as Paprika. Because of a murder case, Kogawa has never been able to escape his psychological trauma. In the dream, he once again sees the killer. Just as he tries to arrest him, the entire corridor suddenly begins to twist and distort. In the end, he is forcibly pulled out of the dream. This is Kogawa's greatest regret in the real world. He clearly witnessed the crime, yet still let the killer escape. Seeing that Kogawa's mental state is unstable, Atsuko ends the treatment early for the day. But as soon as she returns to the hospital, she discovers that 3 DC Mini devices have been stolen. Atsuko immediately realizes how serious the situation is. If the DC Mini falls into the wrong hands and is used to invade other people's dreams, the consequences would be unimaginable. She suspects that there must be a traitor within their own team. After all, the DC Mini has not been widely released. Only a small number of researchers even know of its existence. After meeting with Director Osanai, they head to the office of Chairman Jiro. Jiro is paralyzed in both legs and confined to a wheelchair. He has always opposed the development of the DC Mini, so he seizes this opportunity to demand that all research on the device be terminated. But Osanai has no intention of giving up. He believes the DC Mini will become a revolutionary tool for treating mental illness in the future. Osanai tries to persuade Jiro to allow the research to continue, but without realizing it, Osanai suddenly begins speaking incoherently. He grows more and more agitated, until he suddenly jumps out of the window in a frenzy. It turns out someone deliberately used a DC Mini to pull Osanai into the dream of a severely delusional patient. The confusion between dream and reality drives him to commit an act no normal person would. Atsuko immediately uses a DC Mini to enter his dream. Inside Osanai's dream, she discovers a strange doll. Taka recognizes it at once. It belongs to their assistant, Himuro. The stolen DC Mini devices were most likely taken by him. Atsuko quickly brings Morio and Tokita to Himuro's apartment, but when they arrive, the place is completely empty. All that remains are photographs of dolls. Atsuko discovers a hidden passage inside the closet. Following it, she unexpectedly arrives at an amusement park. Sitting on the steps is a single doll. Just as Atsuko is about to climb over the railing, the space suddenly twists and transforms into a towering building dozens of stories high. Fortunately, Morio grabs her in time. Someone is using a DC Mini to invade Atsuko's dream, and the missing Himuro is the prime suspect. If the DC Mini continues operating like this, the lives of everyone in the city will be at risk. Meanwhile, Osanai is on the verge of total mental collapse. Atsuko transforms into Paprika and enters his dream once again. Using Paprika's abilities, she successfully awakens Osanai. After waking up, Osanai is deeply grateful to Atsuko, but Atsuko accepts his thanks on behalf of Paprika. She has always believed that Paprika is an independent being, not simply another version of herself. Atsuko predicts that Jiro will use this incident as an excuse to suspend all research projects. Years of hard work will be wiped out overnight. Now, their only option is to find Himuro as soon as possible and recover the stolen DC Mini devices. Osanai decides to skip the board meeting to buy Atsuko some time. But soon, more and more doctors are dragged into shared dreams, beginning to act in bizarre and incomprehensible ways. The entire hospital descends into chaos. After learning what happened, Jiro bypasses the board entirely and orders the immediate shutdown of the DC Mini. As Tokita starts dismantling the devices, the robot pattern on his back suddenly reminds Atsuko of something. It's the same amusement park she once saw after being dragged into a dream at Himuro's place. Inside that park, there was a robot identical to the image on Tokita's back. They immediately locate the amusement park in the real world, but by the time they arrive, it has already been abandoned. At that moment, Atsuko notices something shocking. The doll from the dream is actually standing in the exact same spot in reality. Atsuko climbs over the railing. The terrifying scene does not appear. Instead, Himuro suddenly falls from the sky. It is confirmed that he is the one who stole the DC Mini, but only one device is found on him. Severely injured, Himuro is rushed into surgery and falls into a coma. They are unable to learn the whereabouts of the other two devices from him, yet someone is still using the DC Mini to continuously invade people's dreams. The number of victims keeps rising. The real mastermind must be someone else, but Atsuko has no clue who it could be. Kogawa is the officer in charge of the case. He comes to the hospital to investigate. When he sees Atsuko, he feels a strange sense of familiarity. But no matter how hard he tries, he cannot remember who she is. Busy dealing with Himuro's situation, Atsuko fails to notice Kogawa's odd behavior. To recover the remaining two DC Mini devices, she decides to secretly enter Himuro's dream with Tokita. But Tokita is busy developing a new version of the DC Mini and shows no interest in entering Himuro's dream. At that moment, Asane suddenly rushes in to inform Atsuko that Officer Kogawa has fallen into a coma. He urgently needs Paprika's treatment. Atsuko rushes over and transforms into Paprika to enter Kogawa's dream. Inside the dream, Kogawa appears at a circus performance. Suddenly, dozens of audience members who look exactly like him rush toward him, as if trying to replace his identity. The scene shifts, and he finds himself inside an elevator. Standing before him is Paprika, but when the elevator doors open, the outside world turns into a movie starring himself. These are dreams he has repeatedly had. When the elevator reaches the 17th floor, he desperately tries to stop Paprika from opening the doors, but the doors open anyway. This is his eternal nightmare. Long ago, Kogawa personally witnessed a serial killer committing murder, yet the killer was never caught. This time, he finally overcomes his fear and sees the killer's true face. The murderer is none other than himself, and the victim is also himself. Yes, he killed himself. The scene shifts to a movie screen. Paprika applauds Kogawa for stepping out of the shadows. The so-called serial killer never existed. It was merely a dream Kogawa created because he refused to face his current self. He overcomes his psychological barrier and confides in Paprika about his youthful dream of becoming a filmmaker. But after becoming a police officer, he completely abandoned the film industry. In other words, he killed the version of himself who loved movies. From the 14th to the 16th floor, we can clearly see Kogawa's passion for filmmaking. If the scenes on those floors represent his happiest memories, then the 17th floor is the true nightmare that crushed all of his dreams. Under Paprika's careful guidance, Kogawa finally accepts who he is now. At that moment, a group of strange people suddenly burst in. Among them, Paprika spots Tokita. She immediately realizes the truth. Tokita must have entered Himuro's dream on his own in an attempt to save him. Using the DC Mini without permission, he lost himself in the process, which is why he appears here. Paprika immediately exits the dream and returns to the laboratory in the real world. Together with Osanai, they begin analyzing Tokita's dream. Atsuko discovers that Tokita is not dreaming at all. The one constantly dreaming is actually Himuro. The side effects of the DC Mini are far more terrifying than expected. Now, the dreams of Kogawa, Himuro, and Tokita have completely merged together. Atsuko must once again become Paprika and enter this combined dream to rescue all three of them. This time, Paprika has Osanai's assistance, making the journey much smoother. Paprika discovers a mysterious passage. This is Himuro's hidden inner world, where his secrets are buried. In the distance stands a gigantic statue of Morio. Here, Paprika finds Himuro's massive doll. She then sees Chairman Jiro transformed into a tree-like being. At this moment, Paprika finally understands everything. The DC Mini theft case reaches its climax. Morio's statue, Himuro's giant doll, and the tree-like Jiro all appear in this place. This can only mean one thing. Morio and Jiro are the true masterminds behind the DC Mini theft. At that moment, Jiro extends countless tentacles toward Paprika. Fortunately, Osanai awakens her from the dream just in time, allowing her to narrowly escape disaster. They immediately confront Jiro face to face. But to their shock, the lung-paralyzed Jiro cheerily stands up. His legs are covered with countless tree roots. At the same time, Osane beside Paprika transforms into Morio. Only then does Paprika realize she never truly escaped the dream. Instead, she has fallen into a second-to-layer dream. Paprika transforms into a griffin and tries to flee. Morio turns into a hunter and shoots her down into the sea. In the end, Paprika is captured. Morio binds Paprika to a table. He then confesses his love to her. He cannot understand why Atsuko would fall for the unattractive Tokita. Paprika responds with constant mockery. This completely enrages Morio. He peels away Paprika's skin, revealing Atsuko beneath. But at that moment, Jiro's head suddenly emerges from Morio's neck. He believes Morio has been bewitched by Atsuko, so he decides to completely erase Atsuko within the dream world. As the two confront each other, Kogawa suddenly breaks into their dream. He rescues Atsuko, then he takes her into his own dream world. Inside Kogawa's dream, Morio stands no chance. Eventually, the chase leads them back to the corridor Kogawa fears most. This time, Kogawa overcomes his inner fear and pulls the trigger. Morio's dream is completely shattered. The movie within Kogawa's dream comes to a perfect ending. Like a hero, he kisses Atsuko in his arms. When Atsuko wakes up, she has already returned to reality. Although she is back in the real world, she is still shaken by fear. Meanwhile, reality itself has fallen into chaos. Dreams and reality begin to merge. The streets are filled with dolls escaping from dreams. Humans unable to resist temptation join them. Their desire for money and power drags them deeper and deeper. Atsuko, having just returned from the dream, is hunted by Himuro's doll. She is saved by Tokita, who has turned into a machine. This is the first true meeting between Atsuko and Paprika. But the two disagree. Atsuko wants to save the lost Tokita. Paprika wants to save the world. In the end, Atsuko cannot abandon Tokita. She decides to rescue him alone, but she is swallowed by Tokita. Meanwhile, Paprika reaches the edge of the city. At this point, the fusion of the two worlds is inevitable. This place connects directly to Jiro's dream world. After Morio's death, Jiro falls into a black hole and becomes a dark giant. Paprika tries to escape, but Tokita blocks her path. After obtaining Atsuko, Tokita also wants to swallow Paprika, but a large banner suddenly drops and blocks his vision. His body gets stuck between buildings. At that moment, Atsuko transforms into a giant. She pulls Tokita free. The truth is, Atsuko does love Tokita. Tokita simply never realized it. Meanwhile, Jiro begins his massive destruction. He intends to establish a new order over the entire world. Paprika finally comes up with a way to defeat the giant Jiro. She flies into Tokita's body and begins to merge with Atsuko. A giant baby girl is born. She starts devouring dreams. She quickly grows into a giant young girl. The more she consumes, the larger she becomes. In the end, even the giant Jiro cannot resist and is consumed as well. The girl grows into the form of adult Atsuko. Then she slowly fades into the sky. The catastrophe brought by the dreams finally comes to an end. Officer Kogawa's psychological issues are completely cured. He will once again pursue the dream he had in his youth. Paprika is gone, but she leaves him a message. She tells him that Atsuko and Tokita have gotten married. Paprika recommends a movie to him. This time, Kogawa finally dares to walk into a real movie theater and truly watch a film.